part 3 in lecture 3. Let's discuss the next set of things. Actually, this is, you can see as highlighted here, we are going to discuss the if-else structure along with multi-way selection with elif and nested selection, all these things, right? So in this part, let's see. So the if-else structure. Now, in the previous part, we looked at the if structure alone. So what does that mean? That means you can now, if you go back and refer to the earlier diagram or the control, when we were discussing the control structures, remember we had the selection control structure in a certain way, right? So we basically had, let me draw it here for simplicity. So we had a checking of the condition, right? If the answer is yes, and if the answer is no, right, we did something and come here and go like this. If the answer is no, we did another thing, and then after that come here and go proceed. Now, so we had like block A and B, something like that, right? So we said that the condition is, if the answer is yes, we do A. If the answer is no, we do B, right? But in the previous part, we looked at the if structure only. So if structure means you can actually remove this and simply do something like this. Simply saying that, okay, if this basically the B, whatever we had as B, can be nothing, like nothing to be done. So we can simply remove that. Which means if the condition is yes, you do something, otherwise you don't do anything. Right? That is what we call this if structure in Python. We saw if a particular condition is true, you do something. That's it. Otherwise, no, nothing special, right? Or it can be the other way also. I mean, this may be that if the condition is not true, you do this. Yes, nothing, right? Obviously, symmetrically, you can do that way. But generally speaking, if else structure actually represents what you're going to discuss now, is allowing us to do the other part also, right? So let's see how Python supports that. So simply, if the answer is yes, you do this maybe, no, then you do B, right? That's what we are going to see here. All right? Okay. So here is how the if-else structure in Python. You have if expression statements like before, right? We saw it already. And additionally, we have now else and a colon. Else the colon, right? You can see the two dots here, like if expression colon is here, else a set of statements here, indented here, indented here. Now, again, the whole thing together, if else all things together is a compound statement. Now, this time we have two clauses. One is the if clause, the other one is the else clause. And the header of the if clause is, as you can see here, and the header of the else clause is, header means the top part, right? And header of the else clause has the else and a colon. And the suit or the body of the if clause is blue color statement, set of statements. So when you say statement and within parentheses, it means one or more statements, right? One or more statements. Similarly, the suit of the else clause means one or more statements here. See that very important to understand the indentation, the level of indentation. This is indented with this one, and this is indented in this level. Whereas else and if are at the same level of indentation, right? Vertically, anything comes after this also will be here, like you write a print statement, right? And say A equals B plus C, like all these things will be at the same level of indentation, like if else. Okay, so the indentation is very important. That's how you keep the structure. And you say these statements belong to this way, that way. That part we express using indentation. So how does this work? It's simply the suit of either if or else will get executed. not both, only one of them, because if the expression is true, right, if this expression is true, the statements here will get executed and this will get skipped, right, the else part. Or if this expression is false, then the blue color thing will get skipped and will execute the green color statements. So it's basically like exactly like what we meant in our selection structure. You ask the question, and if yes, you do one. If not, you do the other, right? A and B. It's like this is A and this is B, right? So if this is yes or true, you do that. If it's no or false, you do that. And after that, you come and proceed. So this part is, if you have another statement here, you continue like that, like these are the ones here, right? Continue. All right. So I hope that's clear. It's fairly not that complicated, I suppose. All right. Of course, else clause is optional. That's what we saw in the previous section, previous part, where we just look at only the if clause only. So else is optional, definitely. If you want, you can use else. But remember, you cannot have else alone. It cannot exist alone. It must always be with the if, right? If later you can have else. You cannot have else alone. Actually, there are else that can appear other than with if also. You will later learn that in some loop condition, some other constructs, else can be there. What we are saying is, even on those cases, else cannot be alone. Else will always be with either if or some other component, some other element, which will come first, right? Which will come first. All right. I suppose this is okay. So let's now look at another example, example 4.2, again from notes. Here we are asking to modify the program for the example 4.1 so that it displays the message no discount, the amount is less than 1,000. So let's look at this example, program 4.3 in your notes. That shows the solution for that. It's given like this, so we can understand what is meant by amount, float, input, enter amount. Whatever the input from the keyboard is first comes as a string. From that string object, a float object is created with that equivalent value, and amount is basically referring to that. And we have now taken another variable, final, which we have initialized to 0. Initialize means we set to 0. And then we have if amount greater than or equal to 1,000, and discount is equal to amount multiplied by 5%. Final is amount minus discount. That's it for the if part. Else, you say print no discount. Final is equal to amount. And going out of the loop, or not the loop, out of the if clause, we basically display the value of amount, which is correctly displayed as with the 2 decimal places, right? And then the final amount is also displayed here. Final, it basically which is set to the correct value here or here, right? So that is the final amount. All right. I hope this time you can see we initially set the final to be 0. Is it real essential? You could have maybe you can argue that okay, this is not really needed, this particular line, because here we set it correctly to amount minus discount, and here final amount. Yes, that's correct, right? I can argue that yes. All right, I hope this is clear. Let's then proceed to the next. We can also have something, now this one shows the if else thing. Now we said that we have this normal selection thing is okay. You ask the question, and if yes, we do this. And if no, we do this. And then proceed, right? But let's suppose that we need to do not just, you have to select not between two values, two things. You ask a question and maybe you keep asking questions, and sometimes simply you want to, in a very high level way, let's say, I mean, you want to do more than, you want to choose between more than two choices. Let's say you come to a particular point and you look at the value, and maybe is there a way to go like multiple different things? If a particular value is something here, otherwise do this, like that. Can you do multiple things? Right? So that is an obvious question that we may have. Yes, you can do that with the Python with if, else, elif and else kind of thing. Of course, if you don't have that facility, you can still have an equivalent way of doing that by how? By using a sequence of if else things. Now, for example, okay, I will go to that point and we'll discuss, right? Let's say you have something, elif, the multi-way selection. So elif is basically the keyword used for that, allows multi-way selection like this, right? If expression 1 is true, you basically do something here. Elif means else if, that means this expression 1 is false. Then you go to say else, then check another expression. Else, okay, expression 1 is false, doesn't matter. Then let's check expression 2. If this expression 2 is true, then you do this. Another elif says, okay, else means that expression 2 is false. Okay, that's okay. Then you check another condition, expression 3. And if that is true, you do this statement. Like that, you can keep going, finally ending with some else. Now, is this the only way? Is there a way to do this thing using just if else only? Yes, you can do that. It's like this now. You can come to the first question, first expression, and you can say if this is no, sorry, if this is yes, you do this statement, let's say A, and let's say this is B and this is C, and this may be, let's say, something like Q or something. There can be other things. So if it is true, you do A, and you go down from here and connect to something. If it is no, you ask another question again. And if it is true, this time for this condition, this is the expression 2. This is expression 1. This is expression 2. Right? Expression 1, expression 2. Expression 2 here. And if it is true, you do B. And here, if no, you check another condition. Right? Expression 3. And ask the question. And if it is yes, come here and do C and come down, right? All these things are possible. And like that, you can keep going. Finally, of course, you will have a situation with the situation where, for the else part, right? Else part we'll do, let me draw it like this. Finally, you will have somewhere this Q is happening. And all these things means come to this point and then follow the next level. So what I am saying here is that we could have achieved the same effect of this thing without the elif thing. We could have just done, which we show next, like a nested if else like that kind of a thing. But this one is, of course, easier and easy to understand, easy to write, and looks nice also, rather than having a nested set of if else things, right? But basically, this means something like that, right? Okay. So how does this? I think by now you would have understood what this means. you're simply checking one by one a set of expressions, right? So suit of the if clause, suit of elif clause, suit of the next elif clause, like that. It goes on like that. Finally, the suit of else clause. And here, all are indented. Just check how these are indented, right? And only one of those will get executed, right? That's also important to understand. Yes, so yeah, that's basically how the if, elif, else structure works. So multi-way selection, you want to select not just something between this or that, but out of several possibilities, you want to select just one, right? Okay. Now, nested selection structure means you can have if, elif, else kind of thing inside another similar structure like this, let's say. So you have a if expression one, you have some statement, and under that another if condition situation here, if, elif, else kind of a one compound statement here inside another one. And you can see what the difference is, the level of indentation. You can see this if, right, this if has, it's aligned with this elif and this else, they all belong together in a single outer level compound statement. And this if and elif and else belong together in another level of indentation, right? So that's important to note and understand. So in other words, we can actually identify that block. Say that is the inner if, elif, else compound statement. The one outer thing is the other one, right? One inside the other. And we have even further, yes, even now if this is one of these statements here, in the inner, it can again be yet another inner if one more level of nesting can be done, even not just one more. Several level of nesting is possible, right? If that is what you really want, okay? But anyway, it's important to note the differences among the levels of indentation. Okay. Now, I just want to, okay, so that's about the nested thing. Sometimes you may not need to do this thing in your programs, right? So then you can use it appropriately. Now, when we're talking about the previous thing, I just wanted to add another thing. Now, if kind of thing, it's like a multi-way selection. We already said that, right? Multi-way. Now, in some programming languages, there are some constructs that allow you to write multi-way selection without using if else kind of thing. That may be convenient in certain language. Now, for example, in C and Java, there is something called switch. And you can take a particular value and say, okay, case and a particular case, do something like that. Several cases are there. So case and another case like that. What does that mean? You're simply checking a value, a particular value of, let's say, a variable A. If the value of A is equal to 3, then you do this set of things. If the value is 4, you do this kind of thing. Like that, you can, it's also a multi-way thing, selection. So switch case, but Python doesn't have this switch case thing. We do have one thing which we'll talk about next, right? But just to remind you or to tell you that we don't have the switch case thing, which we find in C and Java languages. There's no equivalent one in Python. So, okay, it depends on your choice. Some might see that as maybe some kind of a deficiency in Python, but Python designers have decided to not have that. Of course, switch case thing is not, I mean, you can have an equivalent if elif kind of structure to replace a switch case kind of a sequence. That's always possible, even in the C Java languages. Whatever you do with the switch case kind of a block can be equivalently done without using switch case, right? So that's important to remember. So maybe that is why perhaps Python designers decided to not have switch case equivalent here, right? Okay, right. So let's move forward. Yeah, so we discussed about this also, right? And next thing, yeah, that actually, oops, sorry. Yeah, that brings us to the end of our part 3.